District of Conservation is sponsored by the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, better known as CFACT. To learn more about our sponsor, head over to cfact.org. Thanks for listening to the program.
When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You're ready to move your business forward, but first, you need to find the right team. Start your search with Indeed-sponsored jobs. It can help you reach qualified candidates fast, ensuring your listing is the first one they see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. See the results for yourself. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to District of Conservation. I am your host, Gabriella Hoffman. This podcast offers a sober examination into all things hunting, fishing, shooting sports, energy, environment, and the public policy surrounding it. And this podcast also specializes in original interviews that you won't hear elsewhere. Here's what I have for you today. Listeners are in for a treat this episode. I'm so delighted to welcome Jessica Byers, now brand relations manager at Montana Knife Company, to the show. We have known each other for several years, crossed a lot of paths. I've loved seeing her rise in the outdoor industry with creative content. She's probably the model outdoor influencer you could think of. And we're here to kind of examine her transition to now working for a company full-time. And she's worked for many companies, worked for the industry, probably one of the most all-star people you can meet. Now she lives in Montana. Jessica, it's so great to have you on the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. It's really great to connect with you again, especially with another woman in the space. And it's been a minute since I've jumped on a podcast. So really appreciate the invite. And I'm just super grateful.
How has outdoor influencing changed? Because I think when people were looking pre-2020 into hunting and fishing outdoor influencing, I thought of you. And there are many other examples of ladies like you. And it's changed so much. And you've stepped a little bit away from that world. You still do a lot of engagement here and there, I reckon, and you'd still post on social media. But you used to do a lot of content creation. And I think of you as the model for like outdoor influencer on the female side of things. But has it changed in a favor you like? Are you excited to see more women do outdoor influencing? Or do you think outdoor influencing has changed since you've been in it?
Oh man. Okay. So it's definitely changed. And yeah, I've stepped back from it going into more of a full-time role with a company. But when it was a full-time gig and that was all I did, this was kind of when influencer was even a word. I was just trying to figure out how do you make a living in the space that feels authentic to who you are and your journey. And it feels as if back then when I got started, it was more of a longer format, storytelling, beautiful films, and you could hold people's attention a lot easier. And it seems like over the years, the biggest change that I've noticed is you have a very, very, very limited ability to capture someone's attention. And that's ultimately what makes things go viral. And so, I struggle with that a little bit just because I love the detail of hunts and people's adventures and feeling like I'm there, and you can't really, accomplish that in these super short attention spans that we're juggling. But that being said, there's definitely a lot more opportunity. Back then nobody was really doing it. And so I was constantly having to pitch different ways, different projects and packages and things like that. Whereas now you have, so many opportunities with affiliate marketing and codes and links. And a lot of that was just very new, structured very differently. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed over the past, we'll say decade. I started in 2015.
You have, and I believe you still have the handle FollowerHerArrow. And that was kind of your moniker and how people got to know you. And your husband, I think, had Follow His Arrow as his handle for a time, or maybe he still does. I don't recall. But you really kind of rode that wave. And I kind of like you lament the fact that you can't have long form content on Instagram anymore. Everything is like short reels, 5 seconds or less to capture someone's attention. Even now when it's like combined with edits. And I've learned kind of how to crack the code with edits. Like how do you get people interested? Like what certain key phrases? SEO is now a really big thing in social media posts. So it doesn't matter how beautiful your content is or if it's compelling or interesting if you don't use the right SEO. Now you'll get penalized. And Instagram is constantly changing. They've changed like 5 times in the last 2 months in my view of it, but it has changed. Somewhat, I would say a little bit concerning. I don't think AI slop is going to like ruin outdoor industry stuff, but you can tell what is fact and fiction. I see like bears walking on their hind legs, like humans, that's obviously fake. You can't really fake a beautiful trout that is caught. You cannot fake like a memorable hunting trip. AI could be used to like supplement certain things. And I'm not opposed to AI whatsoever. I'm actually pretty supportive of it. I want the US to lead in it. But I've seen like in other content outside of the industry, it's just like ruined things.
Yeah, I agree. Anything that I read now, I feel like I'm constantly questioning, is this real or not? But it's interesting. I hadn't thought about how on the outdoor side of things, I can't really say that because to your point, it's pretty easy to pick apart. I mean, outside of like someone being chased by a bear, like you might have to like question that a little bit. But that's also, I guess, could be real. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how to feel about AI. I don't use it in that way as far as like visually. I use it, more in a text format. So I'm definitely not against it, but I can see how it's shifted things and it's taken away from the authenticity that I kind of preached and lived by for so long. Over the years, working alongside other writers, I know they really struggle with it, and you can see it taking over in so many ways. So I hope that will just bring people back to wanting to see the original content and not like that. What feels like it's a repetitive thing where there's nothing special about it. I miss those days of the storytelling and the details that you really AI wouldn't know. At least I don't think.
What AI does actually really well, Jess, is if you ask ChatGPT to, let's say, expand on is hunting conservation, it actually gets it pretty well. And it picks up information. I was curious to do a query, like, what does it say about me? And it gets like my work pretty accurate to a T. So if you feed like the prompt enough information, it'll spit back to you pretty accurate information itself, like as long as it's more specific and detail oriented. So it's not entirely compromised or biased against hunting or fishing or conservation writ large. But my only worry is like if things become so hyper realistic, will you think it's a documentary? Can it replicate a documentary? I don't think so, because things still require a human touch, and humans are behind AI. With respect to outdoor content. So it might be a little tricky. Like I said, tools can be used to enhance, let's say like post-production or to eliminate something in a photo that's extraneous. That's great. But like to see AI slop in the outdoor industry, I don't think that's going to happen. We wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah. And it's refreshing to hear that it's done a good job, summarizing the work that you do. It's particularly with conservation and any kind of like statistics and things like that. Absolutely. I'm all for that. It's the creative aspect that would probably make me sad to see go away.
Let's talk about your transition from being a full-time, I wouldn't say only influencer, you're a storyteller who also did a lot of influencing positively, to working for probably one of the hottest brands out there and reputable brands. I know a lot of people who own Montana Knife Company knives. I think I may have been gifted one at some point in time. And if not, I'll make sure in the future I do get one for my future hunting trips. But what made you decide to go work with Montana Knife Company, and what do you do with them as a brand relations manager?
Yeah, man, at the end of the day, you work for people, right? And I always say that it only takes one handshake to change your life. And I would have said that about my previous job too, where, I was there for over 4 years, but I knew that when MKC started, it was going to be special. And growing up, I was always fascinated by knives. So I used to collect them. And like, even when my grandpa passed away, I got his collection, and I just love like tools, and it's just a really cool thing to collect. And so I really randomly met Josh Smith, our CEO, at a total archery challenge on the mountain. And I was just shooting my bow with some friends, and he got stuck behind me with his wife, Jess, who was, walking with him. And I didn't know who he was, but I, invited him to come shoot with us, or shoot, past us so he could go a bit faster. And that was his first event he'd ever been to. And when I, learned he was a knife maker, I kept in touch with him. And because again, I was always fascinated by knives, and I thought, what, I'm going to invest in my first custom knife. So I called him up and told him that. And he very, very politely, in a very professional way, basically told me I couldn't afford his knives, because he's from the custom knife world. His work goes for thousands and thousands of dollars, which I did not know. He's a master bladesmith. There's only about 150 in the world. So he comes with, a lot of backing, and his work is beautiful. Again, didn't know any of that. Just thought it'd be cool to have a custom knife. And then we kept in touch over the years, just touching base. And then, met Brandon, our CMO, co-founder, and or co-owner, and he helped, get MKC off the ground. He's a marketing genius, and kept in touch with them over the years. I kept, seeing them grow and sell out of, their knives left and right. And then, now they're on Fox News, and then mentioned on Joe Rogan. I'm like, what is happening? And so I would just text him every once in a while, just tell him, hey, super proud of y'all. Love supporting the brand. I kind of skimmed over the fact that after Josh pretty much told me I couldn't afford his knives, he said, oh, but I'm starting this other company called Montana Knife Company. I'll send you a prototype. So that's a big part in the story. And that I have one of the very, very first knives from like the very, very early batches, one of the first batches that they ever released. And I've been using it in the field on all of my adventures since then. And I got to, learn firsthand the quality of it, and just became a huge supporter. So then as they began to grow, I was just supporting and, telling people about it when I could. Very, very impressed by the product. And naturally, as they grew, an opportunity opened up that I just couldn't say no to. It's not that I was out shopping for a new job. It was just one of those things though, when Josh, when he texted me, would you ever move to Montana? I didn't know exactly where that was going, what he needed, if it meant remote or moving to Montana, but I knew in my gut in that moment that I was going to work for MKC. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity. It's just been the most wonderful career move, and I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. I have been with them since February of 23. So 24. So coming up on 2 years in February.
Excellent.
And it's just been a wild ride. So, and you said brand relations. So what do I do day to day? In a nutshell, I would say, maintaining relationships within the industry, kind of using the relationships that I've built over the last decade to do some really, collabs, giveaways, some cool campaigns, but then also managing our ambassadors. We have a roster of about 30 ambassadors that span from, hunting into culinary, and a few scattered in between, rodeo guys, MMA, things like that. And just, managing those guys and keeping them in the loop and keeping them stoked for the brand, and looking for new opportunities. Of course, going to events like I've done forever, and just shaking hands and building relationships with people, which is basically how I met you. So this is a really cool full circle moment.
It is.
To be on this podcast.
Absolutely. No, it totally is. And I'll have an idea for you once we finish the episode podcast recording. But you guys are, of course, in the business of selling knives, superior knives, but you also have conservation at the heart of your company's mission. And I've seen different efforts of MKC raising funds for restoring Yellowstone, partnerships with Mule Deer Foundation. Speak to how important conservation is for you guys at MKC.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's huge. So our 4 C's for MKC's country, customer, conservation, and community. And those are the things that we focus on every day. It's like, how do we make sure that we're staying focused on those 4 things? And the conservation projects is another thing. I work with all the conservation groups, and it's a very gratifying part of the job. We've done anything from t-shirt collabs. We'll see there's probably half a dozen at least on our website. And for every shirt that's sold, we give 50% of the proceeds back to that organization. And we handle everything from like all the marketing to it's just a way for us to highlight that, that partnership and continue to give back throughout the year. And then we usually update the design year to year. So that's one way. We've done some, knife drops where, from the time that the knife drops until, for 3 or 4 days, we'll say for every purchase of this knife, you get a 1-year annual membership to this nonprofit. But so it's free for the customer, but MKC is covering it. So for, $35 a year that they would normally pay, MKC is writing that check to that organization after that 3 or 4 day period where we give them a total and they send us an invoice. So just really, really cool, like hands-on projects like that, where it's more than just writing a check, but like we're able to be involved. We've done some projects, RMEF is here local to us here in Missoula. So last year we did, or maybe it was this summer, I don't know, time is flying right now, but just up in the Flathead, there was, they needed to take down a bunch of fence. And so we probably had like half a dozen employees that went up there and just donated their time for the day. And then of course we captured all the content to give back to them so that they could use that to highlight projects that they're working on. Yeah, I mean, we're constantly trying to find ways to give back, because at the end of the day, we want to highlight that we support hunting of all kinds, as long as it's, legal, ethical. We don't want to hide. We don't want to hide from that. We don't want to shy away from it. It's where we started. It's the space that we started in. And no matter how much we grow into tactical or culinary or music and rodeo and all these other places that we're, trying to create a web and create that community that we did the way we did in outdoor space, we don't want to forget where we came from, because that is so important to us.
It is to keep in line with conservation, because I think a lot of companies, perhaps even big conglomerates, will start out like conservation, hunting, fishing, build the success off of that, and then they abandon it once they achieve success. I don't think that's going to be a problem for MKC, but I've seen some other legacy brands, outdoor brands, kind of be like, we're going to be not just outdoor people, or we're going to kind of abandon the folks that first supported us and choose this other audience. So it is very important to keep that at the core.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that. So my brand relations meetings with Josh and Brandon, one of the things that continues to come up is, I can't tell you how many times they say it in the meetings, do not forget about the people who supported us in the beginning. And for anything from, send them a knife with a handwritten note, simply saying we appreciate you for no reason. Give them a call, send them a text, try to meet up with them when you're at the shows, like try to never lose touch and forget where we came from, because, it is growing fast and it gets harder to have enough people that are having those touch points. The other thing I was going to say is, I think that one of the reasons that you see that trend where companies get so big that maybe they step away from the very thing that they originally supported is because they sell out, or you have investors, and that turns, you start going in a different direction because you have more opinions that have bought into it and they have skin in the game. for those who may not know, and maybe people are new to the brand, or maybe even people who don't know, who aren't new to the brand, but don't know this about MKC. Those guys bootstrapped it. We don't have any investors. They haven't accepted any money. In fact, they've turned down lots of opportunities to do it themselves. So that's why it's such a special story. Josh and Brandon could have easily accepted, the opportunities that have been presented, where it's like, yeah, we could lay our head down at night and know that, everything's going to be good because we have these, lump sums of money to put back into the company, where right now they're just pouring back all that revenue into the company. We're still in Josh's backyard, not for very much longer, but it's easy to perceive this exploding brand as like already so big and, so accomplished. And yeah, we're very, very grateful. But at the end of the day, we're still in a 10,000 square foot building in Josh's backyard and on private property where you can't come on and see the operations. And so by the end of this month, we'll be in our new facility, which is a 50,000 square foot building with a retail shop. It has a Black Rifle coffee shop inside.
Nice.
We're hiring like crazy. We're going to get into folding knives next year, finally, after a lot of requests. And it's probably more important now than ever to make sure we don't ever forget those original supporters and make sure we're pouring into our customers and show our appreciation, because we still need their support, because we don't have those, deep pockets backing us. It's just two guys that have a huge dream and they want to prove that you can do it yourself in America.
That's the quintessential American dream. And the outdoor industry is booming. There are some economic challenges. I know people are concerned, but what is the pitch to people who want to work in the outdoor industry? Women, men, young people. A lot of people are kind of disillusioned about their job prospects. I have friends, maybe it depends on where you live, different economic centers. Montana's booming for sure. You live close to Washington, D.C., where I'm at. And a lot of young people coming out of college like, I can't get a job. I have all these credentials. Is it perhaps a opportunity for people who, maybe need some sort of like different approach to finding a job, or think or reassess kind of how they're looking for jobs? But if someone is looking for a job in the outdoor industry, what would be your pitch to them to work for, let's say, your company, adjacent companies, things of that sort? Because people are kind of disillusioned about the job market, but I try to reassure people there are companies hiring. Maybe you have to branch out and think of a different industry than what you're taught to do, or where you can apply your skill set, perhaps even if it's not the space you've worked in. So what kind of pitch or words of encouragement would you like to give to job seekers out there and maybe make the pitch for working in the outdoor industry?
Oh man, that's a really tough question. I mean, I can tell you the most like authentic, thing that's most relatable to me, which is just that, meet as many people as you can, because like I said, one handshake can change your life, and care more about the people that are in front of you versus the opportunity that they might be able to offer you. That goes a long way. Like my last two jobs were just because I met the right person and I treated them as if they were important. People want to feel important. If you can build relationships, that goes a really, really long way. And it's also provides a diverse outlet, because in a growing company like ours, I mean, there's new jobs that are popping up every week, right? Because it's exploding. So it's, I think being open-minded to starting somewhere that maybe doesn't align with where you want to be, but not being afraid of the grunt work to get to where you want to be. If there's a window of opportunity with that company. And to give you an example, it's something that also comes up in weekly discussions, because a big majority of our company currently, of our employees, they're knife techs. If we don't have knives to sell, we're not able to grow the company. We can't grow the company. And you are in a manufacturing facility all day. At the end of the day, it's a manufacturing job. You are piecing together knives, you're sharpening, you're clean sheath packaging, you're fulfilling orders. I don't know if I said sharpening, where you're standing up all day. You're engraving. It's a very repetitive thing. That might not be the marketing position that you want. That might not be the community job that you dreamed of, or, whether there's so many opportunities to grow from just being a grunt. But I think having the right culture changes all of that, right? So I wouldn't compare every manufacturing job to MKC, because I think our culture is phenomenal and everybody loves being there. But I guess being flexible with your expectations. But the other thing that I want to highlight, because especially kids getting out of school, is a lot of them want to be in the outdoor industry because they love hunting in the outdoors. But also remember that the busiest time of year for someone in that works for a hunting brand is the fall. And so there's there's this misunderstanding. I can't tell you how many people that I meet that are like, yeah, I wanted to work in the outdoor space because I love hunting, and now I never hunt. That's not the case at MKC, especially living in Montana. There's so many opportunities for residents here. And we have a clause literally in our handbook that's called do epic shit. So I think that there's a lot of support for adventure at this particular company, but I don't know that it's that way at every company. I think, great work ethic and great people skills and caring more about the other person more than like how you can advance yourself and your own career will ultimately advance your career, basically. If I guess it's the best way to put it.
That's some sage advice. And it is so true. I think for my job, we were talking beforehand, how we both, since we last spoke, kind of entered different career tracks, where I went away from full-time freelancing to part-time freelancing. And it really was because of connections and actually fellowships that I did, where I worked my way up. I really hustled and grinded. And my now bosses were like wanting to entice me to hire me earlier than I chose to. And I was like, at the right time, we'll think about it, explore. And then the right time came and I just seized upon it. And it's absolutely true. The connections you make in the outdoor industry and even adjacent industries is so important. And that's how you actually land the best jobs. Because sometimes if you go into a job cold turkey, no connections, does not help. And sometimes even with connections, you don't really get jobs either. I've had that happen earlier in my career. But in the outdoor industry, with everything being relational, and going off of friendships and trust and mutual understanding and shared passion for conservation and the outdoor life, it really is important to have that. And yeah, for any young person listening, like, don't feel disillusioned, because when I graduated from college, Jess, I don't know, I forget if you and I graduated at the same time. 2012 was a very tough year to get a job. And if you got one, you stuck with it. Like, when a lot of us millennials were coming out of college, it was very tough economic conditions. And yes, it is a little tougher now, but there are plenty of jobs available. I'm not sure what some hiring managers are doing, but I don't think that's representative of what's happening in the outdoor industry, because people are very much interested in American-made products. They want, to work in an industry where they can go outdoors. But like you said, sometimes you can't go outdoors when you have to work. Sometimes, but you make up for that eventually with the trade-offs that you have. But going into this, as we round out the conversation, where would you like to send people to connect with you, MKC, learn more about your conservation initiatives, jobs, if anyone is listening and wants to relocate to Montana or pick a new job in Montana? Send and discuss all the links if you can.
Yeah, we have, so montanaknifecompany.com. We have a careers landing page, just on our landing page at the bottom of our website. They're constantly listing new jobs there. The easiest entry to get into MKC would just, again, to be a knife tech. For what it's worth, I love assembling knives. I go down there when they need extra help on nights and weekends sometimes, and it's amazing. But again, cold thing. Across any social media, Montana Knife Company. For me personally, I don't know if you meant for me personally.
Yeah, you too. Of course. Don't be afraid to plug it in. Definitely.
Okay. So my pages are just FollowerHerArrow. I am taking a small social media break currently. I'll be back eventually, but I needed just like a social media cleanse for my personal page. But I'm active on Montana Knives page and always looking for, the up and coming brand ambassadors and things like that.
Wonderful. We will link to everything you've mentioned and some of the initiatives the company has done. But Jessica, it's been a pleasure to catch up. I'm not sure if I'll see you at any shows. I am going to be covering Safari Club International in February, returning to the show. I don't know if you're going to be there, but if you'll be there, I'll see you there. And if not, we'll be able to find ways to get together, and maybe I'll put something in your awareness for a conference you should be at sometime in later spring, early summer.
Yes, absolutely. I hope to see you. And I should have mentioned the most important thing. If for MKC, for people wanting to know about upcoming drops and the latest and greatest, make sure you are on our email and SMS notifications.
Smart.
That is the absolute best way to know about anything going on in the business. I will be at several shows. I'll be at Hunt Expo, Dallas Safari, and I'll be at the NFR. I leave for the NFR in a couple days to go support RMEF at their Hunter and Outdoor Christmas.
Nice. So, I have a friend going to that too. It's Cowboy Christmas is wonderful from what I hear, so I'll be jealous.
Yeah, I'm going to burn up my credit card, I'm sure. And then Wild Sheep up in Reno. That's always a really fun show, the sheep show. So hope to see you there. It's been really fun to catch up with you, and I'm excited to run into you again one of these days.
It's going to happen. It's bound to happen, and we'll make it work. But really appreciate you coming on and updating everyone with where you are. And MKC is a really cool company. It shows. And I hope listeners check out the great products and the great work that you and your company are doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed this installment of District of Conservation, I would love to know your feedback. Send it my way. Please be sure to leave us reviews on Apple, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are played, and also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to never miss a beat nor a guest announcement. Thanks so much for listening to District of Conservation. I hope you have a wonderful day, and please share the podcast to those who may be interested in learning more about these critical natural resources, environment, energy issues.